Hey guys, what's up? This is Bret. Welcome to this week's edition of Planet Rotations. I don't shoot a Planet Rotations every week, but I do post on my Life on This Planet blog a list of all the full albums that I listen to. That's why you'll see that these videos are always numbered out of sequence. So, normally I show 5 things from this week's playlist, but I had a little detour this week because I ended up going out of town for the 4th of July. So most of the stuff that I listened to was on shuffle in the car, iPod, huge playlist. But I did post a list on my blog, which I'll have a link for down in the description box, so you can check out some of the other things that I listened to. There's still several albums. But I wanted to save time and show the things that I picked up on this trip. I also owe you guys an apology for the lack of Friday on the Turntable episode. I received a bunch of emails, text messages, Facebook messages, tweets from people saying, what happened to this week's Friday on the Turntable? So I apologize, guys. I intended to do one. I brought my whole setup with me and I intended to shoot one, but I just ran out of time. I intended to do one actually on the road in San Diego, which brings me to my trip. So my friends Lou and Kari live in San Diego, and they invited me out for 4th of July, and I didn't have anything going on this week, so I decided to take a little drive out there from Phoenix, and it was really a great little 3-day break. When I left Phoenix, it was about, I think my temperature in the car was 119 degrees, and when I arrived there, I immediately looked on my phone, and it was 72 degrees, so it was almost a 50-degree difference. And they live kind of by the water, well, really close to the water, so it was really nice. So yeah, so I'm gonna, and another thing before I start, I did eat, although I didn't do a Friday on the Turntable, I did do a special feature on my blog, and it's the best albums of 2013 so far. Link in the description box. I enlisted the help of some of my usual friends and a couple people from the vinyl community as well. Anthony and Rick James Buttery also contributed some picks. My friends Sarah, Ivan, Jesse, and James all have lists as well, so be sure to check that out. Post your own list as for the comments, so I can check out what you guys are digging as well. So, you know, like any time I go to a different city, I always check out record stores. I've been to San Diego many times and checked out the record stores, but there was this time Lou and Kari took me to some ones that I'd never been to before. But the day I got there, we went just a few hours after I arrived to this place called M Theory, which I had been to before, and we got there just a half an hour before closing, so I didn't get to look as thorough as possible. But I picked up a real gem. I think this was the only thing I bought there, and this is Retribution Gospel Choir. I have their second album on vinyl, and this was really special because I remember when it came out, my brother bought it on CD, and if you're unfamiliar with Retribution Gospel Choir, it's Alan Sparhawk from Low, and I think it was the bass player as well of Low at the time, Matt Livingston. Yeah, I don't think he's in the band anymore, and then Mimi Parker, also from Low, is on backing vocals. But this is really cool because it is on Caldo Verde Records, and it was produced by Mark Kozlik, who owns Mark Kozlik from Red House Painters, Sun Kill Moon, owns Caldo Verde. And this special edition is hand numbered 896 out of 1500, and this one was only available through Oral Exploit record label. And let me show you what makes this even cooler, is it on this beautiful blue vinyl. And this is a side project, so it's a little bit, I think it's Alan's chance to really kind of rock out of the confines of the more slow down tempo, mellower stuff from Low. And there is a couple songs from Low's Drums and Guns that came out around this time, Breaker, and I think Take Your Time was also from that one. So it's cool hearing that. This is also a gatefold if I hadn't opened that up already. So that was a really cool find, and this was really inexpensive. I think it was around $10, and I only had it on my iPod, so it was really nice to find that one. And I'm just going to kind of go in order of how I got things. So my friends Lou and Kari, they just got back from a trip from Europe, and they also collect records. So it was really nice to go through their stuff, and they were really kind to give me some in-person gifts, vinyl community Love Train. Although Lou and Kari aren't members of the vinyl community, they gave me some in-person vinyl community Love Train. So they had an extra copy of OMD's Pacific Age, or Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. This is their album from 1986 on Virgin. I've only had this one on cassette, so that was really nice. And Human League's Hysteria. Love the artwork on this one. It's so 80s. Look at that. And a really nice one. You know, I've known this album for years. I've had it on CD, and whenever I find it on vinyl, the last couple times I found it, it was just in bad condition, or it was had some issues with it, or it was just too much. So they gave me a nice copy here of the Sisters of Mercy Floodland. Killer album. I listened to this last night. It was really, really, you know, I've known this, like I said, I've known this album for years. This came out in '87. And was it Jim Steinman produced for some of the tracks? He did like Meatloaf, he did Dominion, and I think he did this Corrosion. And they have that big grand wah, choirs, you know, just huge production. But the tracks 1959, Driven Like the Snow, and Neverland are actually my favorite. They're more sparse and really good. So Sisters of Mercy, their second album. They only have 3 albums out, believe it or not. First and Last and Always, Floodland, and then their last one, Vision Thing, which was 1990. But they're still actively touring, and you know, haven't had an album out in 23 years. I saw them live, I don't know, 5 years ago, and it wasn't that great. So then, when I was in San Diego still, we went to some other record stores. Well, there was a couple in the Ocean Beach area. There was a couple thrift stores next to one another that had a bunch of records. I found one thing that I bought that I'm going to give to someone, but didn't really find anything. Went to another record store. I'm not even going to mention its name. Everything was just incredibly overpriced. Cassettes were like around $5 each, which is just what I think is just completely ludicrous. Then we ended up on going to Record City. Now, I thought I had been to Record City, but I'd never been there before. And we got there just right before it was opening. Me and Lou went, and we walked inside, and I had a James T-shirt on that my friend VJ here in the vinyl community had given me when he went and saw them just recently with Echo and the Bunnymen in England. And I had that shirt on, and just about a minute after I walked in, 2 guys had come in together, and one of them made a comment about my James shirt. So, you know, as we were all shopping around the store, we were talking to them, and my friend Lou was talking to them about James. And then one thing led to another, and the guy said, "Oh yeah, I know someone that just went and saw James. They posted on Facebook, and we're members of this thing called the Vinyl Community." And sure enough, I knew who both of the guys were. So just kind of crazy how that kind of stuff happens. Richard and Christopher, it was great meeting you guys in person. I know we comment on things together already in the past, so it was just fun to meet you guys just coincidentally. And then the guy that works there, his name's Graham, super nice. And there was another guy sitting behind the counter, who I thought worked there, but apparently he doesn't. He was just hanging out. But Kurt, we were talking about OMD. And then it somehow came up that I was a musician. I mentioned he asked what band. I said Audra, and then he said, "Oh my God, I've been playing you guys. I've spun you guys in clubs for years." So it was really cool to hear that. So all within in the same store, I met 3 people that through one way or another we're all kind of linked together. So that kind of stuff is really cool. So while I was at Record City, there was a lot of things that I wanted there. But I was trying to keep it minimal. But I picked this up because I had it in my list on Amazon, and on Amazon it was like $40. I found it for like $20. This is the reissue of Morrissey's Kill Uncle. It's a UK pressing actually on Parlophone, and like all the Morrissey albums that have been reissued, he's doing them all with different artwork, different track listing, adding things in. I think that's cool. A lot of times what people don't realize is when things are originally released and you're on a record label, the record label a lot of time dictates what the art's going to look like, the sequencing of the tracks, what tracks are going to be on there, which ones are going to be left off. So, it's his chance to reimagine the album, perhaps how he originally saw it, perhaps how he sees it now, 22 years later, because this originally came out in 1991. I remember when I was a teenager seeing the video for Sing Your Life and on MTV. So yeah, So this is the reissue. It actually has 2 tracks that weren't on the album, Passionate Love and East West. And I pulled out my CD here because, you know, I was just trying to think, wow, things are shuffled around so much, because normally it goes from Our Frank to Asian Rut, and they re-track listed it to Our Frank and then Sing Your Life, and Asian Rut is a little bit bounced back. And there's an entirely different version of There Is a Place in Hell for Me and My Friends. The one on the original album is really kind of mellow, and this one is more of a live in the studio full band thing. And this ends with I'm the End of the Family Line, which is a great Morrissey song. And they left off Tony the Pony, which I was surprised. I was like, what happened to Tony the Pony? So for some reason or another, he left that off. Tony the Pony is a kind of a funny song. But yeah, so it's not on the album. But you know, this has one of my all-time favorite Morrissey songs, Mute Witness, on here, which is just incredible. I'll show you guys this. It's got the gatefold in there with the credits, and it has a black sleeve, no download card or anything like that, just really bare bones, 180 gram vinyl. It's got the beautiful Parlophone silver labels on there. So yeah, really was happy to get that. The original pressings of these albums are really hard to find, or really expensive. Another store that I was at had a couple older Morrissey albums that were, I think they had Southpaw Grammar and Your Arsenal somewhere, and they were fetching around $100 for those. So, you know, that's just way too much money to spend. CD will be good enough until they reissue them. So yeah, and then also at Record City, if you guys remember, my last Friday on the Turntable, I did a feature on Fishbone, and I found their Christmas EP, which is from 1987, It's a Wonderful Life. And I'd seen this just done a couple years ago, and I didn't buy it, and I regretted it, so then I found it, and as you can see, it has the price tag, so I got that for $5. So that was a really good find as well. 4-song EP. And then I ended my excursion there in San Diego by going to a store that I had been to before called Off the Record, and didn't necessarily, I found some stuff, some stuff that was just a little bit more than I wanted to pay. But just about as I was about to leave, I flipped through and I found this little gem here, which was just great to find this one, and that is the Long Ryders 10560. This is a band that's known to be a part of LA's Paisley Underground. Bands like the Bangles and Rain Parade, LA bands from the early to mid 80s. Even bands like Mazzy Star were kind of at the tail end of that, and Opal. But really was happy. My friend James, Crap It Out Jim here on YouTube, had mentioned, because he knew I was a big Graham Parsons fan, and he said, have you guys heard, or have you heard the Long Ryders? And I'd heard of the band, I had seen the records before, or CDs, but I'd never owned anything, and I had downloaded this EP shortly after he told me about that. So I was really happy to actually find it, and I've listened to it many times on my iPod, so it was cool to have it on vinyl on the PVC label. And 5-song? Actually, yeah, 6-song EP, 33 RPM, PVC Records, and it has a 1983, it was their first release. And it has a, it's reminiscent of things like the Byrds, Graham Parsons' Flying Burrito Brothers, but it also has a, that little bit of a alt country before that was even really a thing. And it also reminds me in a faint way of things to come, like bands like perhaps like the Gin Blossoms and stuff. So this was a killer find, and it was only $5. So I was so super excited that was the that I found that on this trip. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I'll be back on Friday with a new episode of Friday on the Turntable. And thanks to Lou and Kari for having me in San Diego, for taking me around to some great record stores. It's always a blast to go out shopping and find stuff. So anyways, guys, I'll talk to you soon.